Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm Steven Van Wel, CEO and co-founder of Karma, and we're trying to end the Wi-Fi treasure hunt. We're trying to get rid of this question behind me. In 2016, when we go into coffee shops, airports, hotels, board meetings, investor meetings, we always start off with one single question: what's the Wi-Fi password? This little guy should end that question. A tiny little box of Wi-Fi magic, making sure that wherever you are in the US, and hopefully soon anywhere in the world, you can be your own Wi-Fi provider. One single job is to get all your other devices connected, from laptops to tablets to smartwatches. Every device thrives with connectivity, and we'd like to be your partner in crime to deliver you that connectivity. And we do all of these things with one simple rule in place: no fine print is allowed. Every product that we sell, every service that we deliver needs to be crystal clear, needs to be able to be explained within 1 or 2 sentences, and should be exactly what you pay for. Karma started off 4 years ago when I walked into the Best Buy. Touched down in JFK in New York, went on my Wi-Fi treasure hunt and realized that connectivity is not everywhere, and when it's there, it's not available because I didn't know the password. If you are here for the first time in the US, you lack things like a social security number, but you also lack a credit check. So when you want to buy a mobile hotspot, a phone, or anything that gets you online, you get 0. So we started to hack the system. We bought a few of these devices eventually with the help from a friend. And with the help of nail polish remover, we were able to make them white label. So we removed all the branding. First step into building a hardware company. Use off-the-shelf components because you have no clue what you're doing at that point, but nail polish remover makes everything better. We did that with 10, 20 devices. We opened the devices and looked at who's making these devices. Turns out a small company based in South Korea. Their website showed an email address. We typed an email and we told them, hey, wouldn't it be great if we could buy 50,000 devices? And they said, yes, of course. And we started hacking the system. So we started to overwrite the PCB. We started to hack into the firmware, trying to make sure that our secret sauce, sharing Wi-Fi with everyone around you, was made possible. Let's skip this little guy, because this is way more important. This is Stefan, my co-founder and CTO, realizing that for the first time, we've successfully put our software, our secret sauce, onto these devices. By talking to our manufacturer, by talking to our team, we figured out a way to make these little Wi-Fi boxes remotely controlled by using apps instead of signing into local dashboards. This was sort of when Karma, the idea behind Karma, became reality. And then you start to think about how do you actually ship these boxes from China or South Korea to your doorstep? Because we've all learned that placing an order on Amazon is super simple. But how do you actually get these devices there? So a quick journey, what it takes to ship 2 generations of hardware. This is the final product. These were the gold master samples. They all worked, they were perfect, and we promised our customers to ship it out before Christmas 2012. It turns out that FedEx does not ship 1 or 2 days before Christmas. We weren't aware of that. So when the devices arrived at JFK, we rented a U-Haul van. And we picked them up ourselves. Here you see Dave on the left and Robert, my co-founder, picking up the first shipment from Korea from customs, driving it back to our office in Manhattan to start fulfilling our first batch of devices. This is the first order signed by everyone. And to make that happen, we started our own fulfillment center. And it looks a lot like this. This is Amanda, one of my first hires, who was basically our fulfillment center for the first couple of weeks. We shipped 10, 20 devices a day, and we shipped a few more devices a day. We started to ship 100 devices a day, and every day the FedEx guy showed up, and he knew exactly how we were performing as a business. Because if we only had a few boxes, it was a bad day. If he had to come back, it was a great day. So he became part of our team. My wife helped us with fulfillment. This is my then 9-month-old daughter that helped us with fulfillment because we are trying to experience the hardships of hardware. Really trying to understand how hard is it, what does it really take to ship a device to your doorstep. At some point, we've shipped thousands of devices and moved over to a professional fulfillment center in Fremont, just around the corner. 4 years in time, skipping in time, 2015, we thought that we had a great product, but we wanted to do better. If you have a first-generation product, there should be a second-generation product. This is the second-generation product. Karma Go looks pretty similar. We had more ownership of how the device looked like, the details of a USB cable, the exact colors, because we sort of surpassed the stage of nail polish remover, and we now were in full control of what our hardware should look like. But then we ran into delays. 10 months of delays. Because if you ship a device that needs to connect to cellular networks, you need to go through a few tests. And these tests are pretty elaborate. This was our testing plan. Originally planned to take about 12 weeks, and it turned out to take about 9 months. Because every time a test failed at a lab, we had to go back and redo it. The labs were ×4. So every time we made one mistake, we actually made 4 mistakes. So during these 10 months, we spent a lot of time perfecting the firmware and the software on our devices and waited until the first shipment. We passed all the tests eventually, and we started shipping it out. But then you need your golden master samples, the one final check to make sure that the devices actually work. And these devices were then in Hong Kong, and the fastest way to get hardware from Hong Kong to New York is actually to just go to Hong Kong and then take it with you. So this is Ankur, who jumped in an airplane. Ankur is our Android developer, has little to do with hardware, but he had his passport ready. He jumped on an airplane on Wednesday evening. He was actually back in New York on Friday evening, around 11, when I picked him up at JFK with these new master samples. And it turns out that we were really happy here, but 10 seconds later we turned them on and they did not work. So what happened? We go into Slack because we figured out that if you turn the devices on in New York, on the East Coast, they were missing a profile, tiny little file that needs to be placed in the firmware. But if you open them in the West Coast, in San Francisco, actually that network was a little more up to speed, and it actually fixed the problem itself. So the one thing that we could do is a plan B. Plan B is to just ship all the devices to California and open them manually and turn them on, wait until that file is downloaded, and then seal the packaging back up to start shipping. So this is Dave again. Remember this guy? He was in his U-Haul, and now he's on an airplane, opening up about 10,000 packages manually, together with Sheridan, our product manager, to make sure that we actually seal them back up again. And the cool thing is, we shaved off 2 minutes for each customer, because the activation process that takes place during that initial download time, we now did it ourselves. So if you buy a Karma today, you don't have to worry about all these things, because we figured out that if we take care of it, you don't have to worry about it. Nowadays, we still open those packages. We actually ship them unsealed to our fulfillment center. We close them up in our fulfillment center. Still human labor, but it saves everyone here 2 minutes if you buy a device, and that's worth every dollar. These are a lot of our happy customers that nowadays have this second-generation device. And one more minute about why you should not do hardware. You actually should, but language barriers. One of the most appealing stories to me has always been the way that you should ask questions. when with our first manufacturer, we asked the question, can you deliver the devices on Monday? He said, yes. Then on Monday, no devices. Tuesday, no devices. So we called him. He said, what happened? And he said, well, we could have shipped them, but you weren't clear. So nowadays, we are really specific. Can you confirm that you shipped the devices out on Friday to be delivered on Monday? And then the same answer is yes, and then they're actually there. So you need to learn these things. Natural disasters. We've had earthquakes, floods, and factories being shut down. And you have to deal with that when you ship hardware. Human error, because sometimes your delivery is just a little bit off. This is a picture of China, and our devices were actually delivered at that red flag, and where they're supposed to be is at that blue arrow. So in a nutshell, that is all the hardships of shipping a first and second generation product after you place the place your order button on our website. Thank you.